Okay, hello. I am Pascal, also known as Supperworm on the internet, mostly Twitter and Discord, and I do like Bravo, so I thought, okay, there's not so much Bravo content online. I know how to play the hero. Why shouldn't I do something? I tried to find a fitting playmat that is also from a colleague of mine, not just an official one. I'll change them every video, so don't worry about that. Okay, we're talking about Bravo. This deck is able to block and attack, so it has both of those viabilities of the game. So, like I already talked about with Tom and Az in the Bravo Bros podcast, that he is a good hero to learn the game. I stand by that idea, and I want to go a little bit more in depth here, like I also already threatened to do on the podcast. Okay, at the beginning, it can be a little bit overwhelming to play Bravo because you have to know when to block and when to attack, when to take the damage and when not. So the first few games can be a little bit difficult until you get the hang of it and you know how the turns should be able to work. So I'm trying to give you a good idea here on how to start to play Bravo, so you can start your journey a little bit easier. I think Bravo is in a good spot in the meta today, and also his learning curve is quite rewarding when you know what to do. But first, what does he do in general? We have a hero with an ability that reads action, 2 resources, 2. Your attack action cards with cost 3 or more get dominate. And then go again until end of turn. That's also pretty important. So every turn you can pay 2 resources to make your good guardian attacks dominate. That's pretty good ability, and it's also very good to have this ability on a hero. If you look at other heroes that can dominate, the only hero that can do that at the moment is Azalea on her own, and she needs to jump through loops to get to the level of viability he has. So yeah, quite viable at the moment, and the hero that could do it better is already Living Legend, and also called Bravo. So yeah, the hero dominates the attacks. That's the main or the general idea of the deck, to dominate your finishing blows or your important crushes. Next up, I will go through the equipment real quick and when to use it, because I think the equipment is also a pretty central piece of the deck. We have the Tectonic Plating, which is the legendary equipment Bravo uses. It has the ability to pay 1 resource as a once per turn action. Not only, you can do it twice if you want. You could potentially activate Bravo more than once a turn, but why should you do that? Most of the time, except if you just want to get rid of your hand. But Anathos is still a thing, so mostly it's better to just swing with Anathos. You pay 1 to create a Seismic Surge token. I have one of these here. They read at the beginning of your action phase, destroy Seismic Surge, then the Seismic Surge token, and the next Guardian Attack action card that you play this turn costs 1 less to play. So it's an ability to pay for your next turn's attacks, or make them cheaper. It also has 2 block value, which in total will block for 3, which is a very good fridge piece. Talking about fridge pieces, here we go. Next up, Sprayer Fist. This is mainly a fridge piece. You don't really use it for anything else. The ability is okay to have. You can pay 3 to give all your attacks with Crush +2 until end of turn. So if you have multiple cards in hand and you can attack twice for some reason due to some action points gained, don't ask me how it should be possible, you can attack twice with a crush effect that has +2. It's very unlikely to happen, so it's just a fridge piece, it blocks for 3, that's fine. It gets destroyed afterward when the combat stage closes and it has 0 or less block value left. Next up is a quick one, Iron Rod Boots. They block 1, Blade Break, then they go to the trash. It's not optimal, but it's still the best leg piece you can use for Bravo. And now to another central part of the deck, in my opinion, is the Crown of Providence. Crown of Providence blocks for 2, has Blade Break, so it's also again a fridge piece, and some people still want to use Arcanite Skullcap, which has potential block value of 3. This one has only 2 block value, but guaranteed 1. And Arcanite Skullcap for some playstyles doesn't even have a block 2 value, just a block 1 value. But with this card, when you block with it, you can put your arsenal or a hand card on your deck and draw another one. So, for example, you heave Pulverize, have 4 Seismic Surge tokens, have a red hand, block with that, put it under, potentially just play a Crippling Crush for basically free at this point. It's pretty good. It helps to fix the very bad hands. Okay. Next up, an alternative for the boots. Nullrune Boots. These are played in several matchups that use arcane damage, namely Briar, Viserai, Kano, and Iyslander at the moment. You can prevent one of the triggers. For rune chants, you can prevent 1 rune chant at a time. You can prevent all the rune chants if you have enough pitch value. And for Briar, you can prevent 1 of the Rosetta triggers if you use anything else to block. If she does rune chants and Rosetta, you can prevent 2 with a blue 1 and not lose the card. It's not perfect, but it still does the job. And the next 2 I can put together are Nullrune Hood and Nullrune Gloves. They are only played in wizard matchups when you play against Kano or Iyslander. Nothing else. They're just there to prevent damage. Now to the next centerpiece, Athos. It has a once per turn action, costs 3 to attack, then attacks for 4. And if you have 2 or more cards which cost 3 or more in your graveyard, in your pitch zone, I mean, it gets +2, so it goes for 6. Also very good mind game to just have 2 floating to potentially play a pummel and go up to 10. If they don't respect the pummel, they take 10 damage. Mostly of the times it's not being blocked. And if you have the pummel, it's 3 damage. Sometimes you want to play it then, sometimes you don't want. We'll get into that a bit later. But still a very good hammer. I think it's the best hammer that is not banned in CC at the moment. Winter's Wail is a little bit better, but Bravo can't use Winter's Wail. Bravo Showstopper can't use Winter's Wail. So yeah, I think the threat of a potential pummel, and you can also attack just for 4 with 2 cards left, 1 in arsenal, 1 in hand, or 2 in hand, it doesn't matter. And you can go from 4 up to 10 if you have, if you pitch a card that costs 3 or more to play your pummel on top. So even then, sometimes they need to block out more than 4, or they need to block with 3 cards in hand, depending on their life total left. So still very good to just attack with a hammer on your potential off turns. So yeah, I think that sums up the equipment parts, because I do not play Captain Bravo, it's called, I think, with the shield. Okay, next up to our centerpieces of main deck. If you've seen it, I mostly play like I do when I play at the bigger tournaments. I have my main deck that's not being changed. I just add cards on top of that. And that's how I'll do. The main deck contains 3 Crippling Crows, 3 Spinal Crush, 3 Red Pummels. I think this is a given. 3 Blue Pummels, 3 Terrasander. I also think this is a given because the card is just insane. 3 Buckles. This is not a given. I'm still thinking about cutting some of those or not. I'm not sure. Will be a matter of the future. 3 Imposing Visage. I think this is a given. I'm not sure about the next one, about 3 Showtimes. Stamp Authority is still a pretty good card. And 3 Roused Angels. Those are also givens. Then we have 3 Macho Grande, 3 Staunch Response Blue, and I can tell you why I use Staunch Response over Unmovable. I think Staunch Response has the ability to just block for 8 if you need it, and in some matchups, for example when Dromai wants to go with Ghostly Touch Semblance strategy, you can just on top of that say easy, I block with that, Semblance that, I don't care, and still swing with a Hammerback, so you can still keep the pressure and also block very much of it. And if you need to block on a Briar Monteroid turn, you can also potentially even block out some on-hits with that. It's not ideal, but I think it's more times better than it's worse than Unmovable. 3 times Choke Slam, just an attack for 6 that also blocks 3 and pitches 3. Same for Buckling Blow, Debilitate, Cranial Crush, and Disable. So this is the main board, this won't be changed at all. Let's go through the most important cards of those. Disable, Cranial Crush, and the other cards that are just there to pitch, block, and pop are going to be taken out because they're not that important. It's easy explained what they do. You mostly just play them if you can dominate the last damage through, otherwise you'll not do that. Speaking about dominating last damage through, Macho Grande, you can do that pretty good. If you have a Seismic Surge token left that cracks at the beginning of the turn, cracks, you can just pay 2 blues to attack with Macho Grande, which most of the times, if your opponent is on 2 or fewer lives, will be a death sentence. So this card wins your game in the late game. It is a popper that blocks for 3 and pitches blue, which also is a card type that you use very much or very many times in your deck. Next up, Rouse the Ancients. It's not really the best card in the deck, but you can pitch stack it with the right attacks and then just attack for 7 and go again. Sometimes you have it just naturally on top and you can swing with for 7 and into Anathos. That's most of the times always a very good thing to do. Next up, the thing I'm not sure about, Buckle. I think it's important to play Buckle. I'm not sure if it's important to play 3 Buckle or even 2 Buckles, but 1 is very important at least. And 1 is none, that's what I say. So I think I'll at least play 2 of those. Maybe I'll cut 1, because it helped me win against Vizarite 2 times already, when I can just Buckle into an Anathos for 7 and then destroy their Ether Iron Weave, so they're not able to do this insanely big turn where they just close to kill you in 1 turn. You can prevent that from happening, and against fire you can also destroy the equipment so they can't block the real big crushes, and against Dromai you potentially can destroy the Flamescale Furnace, so they don't really have this ash machine they use against you in order to do all the shenanigans they need to. I think the matchup is not too bad anyways, but it's a good card to have in there. It's a blue that blocks for 3, so it's not really a big deal. Same goes for Terrasander. It's the mini Crippling Crush. Your Anathos test destroys 2 cards from your opponent's hand, potentially even 3 if they block with 1, so that's a no-brainer. It's a very good card. And I think it's one of the cards that actually helped Bravo to be one of the decks that you can use in the meta right now. Showtime on its own is bad, because it doesn't have Go again. But combined, with Imposing Visage, it has Go again, and you can play it from the deck. Search for example, if you have just these cards left, for example, it can be any blues. You just play that, search for Showtime, search for any blue Crush or Guardian Attack action card, pitch it, swing with hammer for 6, and the next turn you have 5 cards. And if you have a blue and on top of that, you can search for a Crippling Crush, arsenal it, and you'll have a 5-card hand to play Crippling Crush next turn, which is insane. Most of the times you blocked with them. If you have them turn 1 or something like that, turn 0 if you're starting and it's your turn 1, it's a no-brainer to just play it and get out some preparation and no mulligan for your opponent. Blue Pummel pitches 3, plays cards, and also destroys hand cards from your opponent. Just +2 is not that good, but the effect on hit is still there, so it's a must play, in my opinion. Also the red ones, they give +4 and the potential discard if it's not played on Anothos. That's something. You need to tell your opponent if you pummel Anothos that they don't need to throw away one of their cards, because they don't have to, and it's also your problem if they do just trash one card from hand, because you need to call the judge about that, or at least tell your opponent to not do that, and if they still do it, I would just call a judge to make sure nothing bad happens or nothing went wrong. Next up, the two best cards, or the two best cards from the main deck, namely Spinal Crush. I'm not sure which one is better, but Spinal Crush is helping so much against the matchups you really don't want TM to go wide, namely 5, for example, or Dromai. You can just tell them, okay, you don't have any Go again, just do the one attack, and then it's back to me. You have the ability with Bravo to actually pull that through. Ultim just attacks with it, it gets blocked. It's fine. It gets blocked, the turn will be not as bad as it was before. But we can dominate and attack. So the turn won't be as bad as before, and we can push through some damage. That's the whole strategy behind that. And also, it costs 5, so if you have a Seismic Surge token, you just need 2 blues to dominate it, and that's pretty nice. Next up, we have Crippling Crush. Costs 7, attacks for 11, pitches for 1, and blocks for 3. Most of the times you use that to attack or to block with. Sometimes you pitch it for the Tectonic Plating to make a Seismic Surge token and put the card under the deck to pitch stack. But most of the time you arsenal it and wait for the right moment to attack. It is devastating. It deals most of the time it deals 7 to 8 damage and takes 3 cards from the opponent's hand. 1 for blocking, 2 from discarding. 2 of those are not chosen by your opponent. They're chosen at random. And this card it hits hard. So that's so much for the main board and for the most important cards of that. I'm doing a little cut now just to see how it works. And after that I'll just check the most important cards from the sideboard, or the sideboard, when to use it, and so on. So next up, the sideboard. The most important cards first, and when to use it. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. We have Command and Conquer 3 times. We use it in nearly every matchup, except for Oldhim, for example. We don't use it in Oldhim because you can just shuffle away. We have better cards against Oldhim that can be dominated, which is also very important to do against Oldhim. Most of the times it's just a 2 for 1. You attack with 1 card, they block with 2 cards, nothing else happens. It makes the turn your opponent has way smaller and way less bad. Most of the times even 8 damage less bad if you just win with that. If you have a pummel on top of that, it attacks for 10, so it hits. They can't play defense reactions on reaction of that pummel, so they most likely get hit, because not too many people are playing Oasis Respite or something like that. So it hits, you deal 4 damage most of the times, and they discard a card from hand and destroy their arsenal. So they lose 4 cards of their 5-card hand, potentially 5-card hand, and you lose 2 cards which you played, and you even deal damage. This card is too good for what it is, because everybody needs it, and that's the problem about the price. The next card I think is no-brainer in most matchups is Sink Below. I don't use it in all matchups. Of course, in Wizard matchups it's not used at all, but still, it is a pretty good card to prevent snatches or any 4 damage spells to hit. So you can also prevent some mask triggers with just 1 card, which normally you need to use 2 cards with. So it's an all-rounder card. And if you have a bad hand, except for that, you can still chuck 1 card under and maybe get a better hand. It is also a hand fixation. A hand fix. So this card is no-brainer, this card is insane. I'm not playing Fate Foreseen because I'm not playing too controlish, I'm playing a little bit more mid-rangey. Swing and swing back. But this card is a must-have, even if in this matchup. Next up we have a card that is very specific for one type of matchup, which is Stunt Response. I'm playing 2 red Stunt Response. Like you've seen, I play 3 blues. The reds on are against Oldhim and Bravo. A red Stunt Response blocks a Crippling Crush on its own. Totally. Except for 1 damage, of course, but it prevents the crush effect. So just play it against Guardians. You can also just block a Spinal Crush out with that, which is one of the hardest things Oldhim can hit you with, or even a dominated Oak Mold. Just block with that and you're good. But in other matchups I normally don't play it. Even if Channel Mount Briar could use it sometimes, most of the times it's just clunky in your hand. Next up, Chokeslam. Also very good card against those aggro decks. Also very good against Channel Briar. Just hit it with a Chokeslam and they can't really attack after that. They can still attack, but Channel Mount doesn't really do anything. Because Chokeslam says on Crush, if the damage to the hero attack action card Stay Control can't gain damage value during the next turn. So yeah, I had this one moment where a Phi player just prepared this insane big Art of War turn with Minnowism red and everything to just destroy my remaining 10 hit points. And he started with Minnowism, then I took with this Minnowism into Art of War, then I attack with this one, this gets +4 because that, I was like, or it doesn't, no, it doesn't really get +4, it just comes in for 2. I block with my equipment. So yeah, this can also throw off some people, because it's not the card that gets dominated most, it's not the card that crushes the most, because we have still Spinal Crush, which is even better than that, and Crippling Crush, which is also even better than that, but this is a good alternative and it also costs 4, so you can dominate it with 2 blues, so you don't need to have a full hand for that. Next up comes a little bit of a strange one. I normally play it in Dromai. We have lots of Dromai in our local community. And also, in the mirror match it can also be good, because you need to block a lot. Maybe you can just chug in for 7 after that as a recovery. And yeah, it can gain Go Again, which is like our illusionist problem we need to solve in some way. I think it's pretty fine that way, and it helps to get rid of dragons pretty easily. And also in the Icelander matchup you can just attack for 7 and keep enough cards in hand to prevent damage, and they need to lose cards and otherwise do something else. About the same can be said about the next card, Zealous Belting. I also play 3 of those because, like I said, I have very many Dromai players in my local community. For Pro Tour, I think I will change some iterations of Buckle and Zealous Belting maybe. It is the cheaper version of E-Strike. I think you can play both because we have the space. Our generally good cards are so good in every matchup, so we can allow to have 6 slots for one matchup. Maybe I will change those to Righteous Cleansing or any other crush effect, maybe that hits more heroes than just Dromai. But in my opinion, it's also good against Iyslander, and Iyslander is also a threat to deal with. Next up, we have Erase Phase, which is for one of our most hated matchup, Dash. They can't do the early damage if you Erase Phase them, and also for Fi, they can't get their Draconic Chainlinks in order to get Phoenix Flame or something else out, so you're good that way. It just blocks for 2, which is not as good as Command & Conquer, but it still is a pretty good card. I just played 2 copies of it. Up until now it was more than enough, but we will see how that changes with the new heroes and everything. I'm not sure how this deck performs after Outsiders is released. Next up, Oasis Respite for our Guardian and Wizard matchups. We need it into Guardian as well to prevent Cross from hitting. Next up, Pulverize. Let me just use this one because this one is signed. Pulverize. You can heave it. You can then block with the Crown. You have 3 Seismic Surge tokens. You can just play it then, maybe, and just swing for 14 Dominate or something. The card is used in the Dromai matchup as a popper, or maybe as a threat if you just are lucky. And also in the Guardian matchup, especially in the Ultimate matchup, to pull through some damage, because they can block so well. This one will pull through some damage. Also Crippling Crush, of course, but we need more pressure than that. In the aggro matchups, I wouldn't play it at all because it's a very clunky card. But in the matchups where you can pitch stack, it's fine. And my personal favorite, a 1-off Yellow Pummel, because Pummel is insane. Pummel is just amazing. So yeah, Pummel is one of the cards I can just fill up if I don't know what to put in. Normally I make stacks of 3. The cards I use most of the times are Command & Conquer and Chokeslam and Sink Below. Those are the cards that are played in most matchups. Some people would put those in as a main board. I think it's annoying to just think about which card to take out of the deck. That's why I take out every card that is not essential for it to run. So I can just put in 12 cards. 3, 6, 9. And then we need to fill up. For example, let's just say, okay, it's a Guardian matchup against Oldhim. We won't use that so much, but we will need to be able to chuck in damage, so we use those. But no, none of those. So maybe Zealous Belting, because we can pummel it. So, or no, 1 Zealous Belting and 2 Staunches, because we can pummel Zealous Belting. So this would be our Oldhim package to just put in. So I have a sideboard guide for every hero there is. I will make separate videos for every one of those heroes to tell you which cards I put in, what the main strategy against that hero is. But for now, we have our sideboard, main deck, hero and equipment. So that's the things we need to play, of course. I hope it's a little bit more clear how to play the deck now in general, how the patterns work. Some of the patterns change depending on the matchup. That's why I will talk about the patterns in every matchup, even if it's a repetition of something you already heard. But this one, this strategy, if you know how to sideboard, if you know which cards are essential to play the deck, I think that also already helps a lot to get into the game. And most of the times you will be playing with Anathos and Seismic Surge tokens to build up for a very big turn that just crushes through. You shouldn't do that every time. You need to hit back sometimes. You can just block out. If you just want to block out and play Oldhim, he can do that way better and more efficient. And if not, if you want to play Oldhim but hit back sometimes, play Stompy Oldhim maybe. And if you want to play a very aggressive version of Oldhim, play Brawl, which is still a pretty defensive deck. He can block a lot, and his hits just hit hard. That's the main strategy of it, to dominate. So, see you in the next video, and you can also already tell me which matchups you want to hear first, so I can just plan around that or for a bit. So yeah, see you around then.